Hey, welcome back. I'm glad you're here. I'm glad we're together as one, here in the moment, presently, or possibly not presently. Possibly it's recording, so it's definitely not presently, but it's presently for you in some sort of way because you're listening to it at this moment. Maybe doing other things though, so maybe you're not even present. I'm not. When I listen to podcasts, I'm like doing 50 million things at once. So maybe you're in the same boat. I don't know. Maybe you're not. Maybe you're just like zoned in on my voice in which I say hello. Anyway, thanks again for jumping in. To update, I am feeling better. Prednisone did its work. She did a great job. And my scan results came back with inflammation shrinkage, which is great. I'm on a vacation from my treatments and I will be coming back on them probably in like 6 to 8 weeks. So that's the fun. Now I just get to sit in another sort of anxiety where it's like low-key anxiety of like, is this something I should be concerned about and call my doctor? Or is it something that I should just like live with? Breathing wise, I'm doing okay. We're making it work. We're going through the day to day. Anyway, so thanks for jumping in. I can't wait to have you listen to this new episode with Tim, Bad Gut Tim. He is a bad gut and he lives with IBD and Crohn's disease. He has a really great YouTube channel, which is a reason why I wanted to reach out to him and just sort of connect with him on his process and what it's like being a male in the chronically ill space. A lot of people that I've found on Instagram specifically have just been women, and it's not like women are the only people that get these diseases, but I think that a lot more women that I've seen have been more open about it and open about speaking about it. So I wanted to talk to someone that was of another gender and talk to them about their experience and just see where they were at. So I hope you love this episode of Tim living with IBD and Crohn's disease. Enjoy. Let's be real. People love to gloss over chronic conditions or disabilities with a fleeting comment like, just be positive, or a fleeting insult like, kale will cure you. This is a podcast for when you face a different reality, knowing that positivity isn't a magic wand that's going to cure everything, but a flashlight in the dark that we may or may not have batteries to. Living with a chronic illness or disability makes you feel different, and your difference could be noticeable to others or not, but either can sometimes make you feel invisible. I'm here to tell you that your experience is valid and shared by others in the dark. Positivity is not the missing puzzle piece that's going to solve your life's puzzle, but it can be a beautiful tool that can help you grow, and sharing those experiences can make us grow together. Yeah. But thanks so much for doing this call. I really appreciate you jumping on and talking to me about this stuff.
Sure.
Tell me about when you started dealing with chronic illness.
Yeah. So I first was I was diagnosed at like 14. I probably started feeling symptoms, earlier. You start going to see the doctors. The doctors are trying to figure it out, and you know how doctors are. Some of them do actually want to try to figure it out. Some of them don't. And colonoscopies, all the tests, all the procedures. And I finally ended up with the Crohn's disease diagnosis.
So what were like some of the symptoms that you were going through when you were getting diagnosed?
For me, like I don't think I have like a like the big one for me was I apparently had a fistula. At the time I had no idea what a fistula was, but I would sit in class all day and for an hour, and I'd get up and it felt like my pants were like wet or like damp, but like, not like that anyone could see, but it was like I was going nuts, quite frankly, because it didn't look wet. But it definitely felt damp or like cold. And I'm like, what is going on? And I'm like running to the bathroom and I'm like wiping this pus out of my ass, and like, what is going on? And for the longest time, like, you don't want to tell your parents this. You don't want to talk about this with
Right.
anybody.
Right.
And so finally, I had to finally, because it went on for a long time. I
Yeah.
was like, I was like making sure that I always had a sweatshirt with me, and I was like tying it around my waist just in case anybody could. It was so weird. But that was my biggest symptom, and then I also started to get the diarrhea, and then there was finally like blood in the diarrhea, and it was like, Jesus Christ, something is not right.
Mm. How long were you having the first symptom for?
Like 3 months, probably something like that.
Wow.
It
Yeah.
also, I was under like a lot of stress. I don't know, in Milwaukee, I was at a public school, and then in middle school, and then you kind of get the option, like, do you want to go to like a private school, or do you just want to keep going in the public school system in the city that you're in? And that's what all my friends were doing, and I kind of thought that that's what I was going to do. And my dad kind of sprung on me that, no, we think you should go to this all boys, like, really expensive private school with all the rich kids. And I was under like just an immense amount of stress, like getting into that school, and then just like dealing with a new high school where you don't know anybody, and they all are, like, I don't know, everybody's driving their Range Rovers and stuff, and I take the city bus to school. I was stressed out all the time.
Yeah. It's like that age range is an odd feeling of stress because you're stressed, but you don't know what stress is yet. So you're like, I feel anxious and like I don't know, but you can't really
Totally,
pinpoint exactly like this is stress and it's gonna pass, but it's part of growing up, I
totally.
suppose. But yeah, and that stress definitely, I'm sure, lent itself pretty well to your symptoms, right?
I think so. I've always kind of thought that, like, people that get these autoimmune diseases, there's something in them where like the propensity to get the disease is there, and then there's some sort of environmental factor, what, maybe it's something you ate or repeatedly, or stress or something like that, that like really brings it out.
Yeah. Yeah, because your body's focused on something else. It's like, "Hey, I'm, like, dealing with a whole bunch of shit. I can't deal with this right now," you know?
Totally.
Yeah, I felt like that too. I was really run down when I got, lymphoma. I was just never sleeping. I was, like, working overnights and, like, just, graduating from college. So, I was going through all the motions of that, and it's just like, yeah, pops in. So, yeah, I completely understand that it can be like really stressful. And especially like when you're so young, too. Were your parents believing you? I mean, after you had the symptom of having like blood in your diarrhea, I'm sure that they were like, all right, we need to take you to the doctor.
Yeah, I never really had a problem with my parents like not believing me or anything.
Yeah.
uh the only like real problem, my dad, so the doctors would always say, diet has nothing to do with it. My dad just like refused to believe that. And he would just like get in these arguments with the doctors. How can you tell me that the diet has nothing to do with it? But no, everybody believed me.
Yeah. Yeah, that's good. So, did you, I'm sure, try to change something in your diet in order to try to see if that would fix something?
No, it was like this reoccurring like fight constantly in high school. I worked at Taco Bell actually, and I was like constantly eating Taco Bell, which, like, in hindsight, when you're like,
Yeah.
now I'm like, yeah, that probably wasn't a good idea.
Really.
So I definitely think my dad probably had a point. Like, growing, I always said like, yeah, I think you probably you were onto something there.
Yeah. Yeah. Eating, like, grande tortillas, like,
Yeah, totally.
every day. It's not this. No, no. But, yeah, I mean, you end up, like, trying a new diet or anything like that after that?
Yeah, it wasn't like I was 14 when I was diagnosed. So I was freshman in high school. So like, I went through college and everything. No new diets. Like, I just refused to like let me to be weird or anything. I wasn't doing a
Yeah.
diet. I wasn't doing anything. But when I was kind of becoming my own like real adult person, I did start experiment. I started like reading books and experimenting with the diets and stuff. I've done also. I've done like AIP. I've done Whole 30 and high protein stuff. I've done all sorts of stuff.
Yeah. Did you find any sort of difference? Because I had tried that and it had no 0 difference. Like, I felt that, like, my body was like, "Alright, this is great," but, like, in terms of my illness, like, it was the exact same.
Yeah, I'm totally with. I get very frustrated with the people on the internet telling me that they can fix it, or the people that are like, I fixed. I mean, like, you got really lucky, dude. You got really lucky because I do like I wouldn't say zero difference. I definitely, you know, things like I had a little bit more energy, or maybe my head was a little, I don't know, but like, was my Crohn's gone? No, it was not.
Right. Yeah. And it's so dangerous for those people that have had these like miracle cures or whatever and have like cured themselves by just eating grass or something like that. But like it's so dangerous because other people like jump onto that and they're like, I don't need the doctor or something because they're anxious about even going to the doctor in the first place. So they're like, I'd rather just control it on my own because you would love to just control your disease, right? Anyone would love to control literally anything in their life. So like food is the one thing that anyone is like, I can control this. And then, it could progress really severely after that if you don't go and like, it's just really dangerous while putting out there like you can just cure it yourself and then you feel this guilt. I'm doing this
Oh
to
yeah,
myself, like it's my
totally,
fault because if you
totally.
don't have that enough, you do have to experiment. And I'm glad that you're not eating Taco Bell every day. So that's probably helpful.
Totally, yeah. And I do think that like there is like an amount of like control you like, especially like if my disease, like when you're in remission, there is something you can do, to help yourself. You're not curing anything.
Totally. So you can get into a remission with Crohn's?
Yeah, some people do, definitely.
Okay.
I don't know if I've ever actually like felt remission personally. But yeah, people do. Yeah, for sure.
Huh. Cool. Um, I just didn't know that. I thought that like it was just like a ongoing thing. But
But that's kind of the thing with like that word remission. Like remission is such a funny, it's such a funny thing because at any given moment, like remission can be gone. So
true.
it's like, yeah, you like it, like that for like you felt good for a couple weeks, you know what I mean? But going forward, you have no security or guarantee of what's going to happen.
Yeah. And remission, especially, I mean, for cancer, it's like remission is this like goal that you get to, but it is like the forgetting that that doesn't necessarily mean that it's not going to come back. So, like,
Yeah,
the remission is like a really good thing, and everyone aims for that. But it's like, it's such a mind game because, like, you get there and then you're like, oh, wait, this is temporary, or like it's the exact same life that you're living,
totally, totally.
So what are you doing to reduce symptoms of your Crohn's? You have a ostomy?
Yeah, so right now, I got super sick last summer, and was it last summer now? Because it was 2 summers ago. Um, and I went to the hospital, and they gave me an ostomy, and that's what all I mean. I just have this ostomy now. Nothing comes out of my butt, and I feel a lot better.
Nice.
So yeah, that's kind of the deal now.
Nice. And it was because, the symptoms were at, like, such a level that they decided that you needed to get an ostomy? Or was there, like, a
Yeah,
specific
so
thing that
last summer I was, dude, I couldn't gain. I was just like every day I would get on the scale, like my eyes are sunken in, I'm losing weight. I'm having a hard time standing up straight because like I have no muscle on my body, and I can't eat anything. Nothing's staying down. Yeah, and then eventually they started putting me on this. They started just giving me new medicine. They started trying new medicine. They started putting me on the prednisone, and just nothing was changing. Lots of blood, um, and not only was there a lot of blood, but like it was like it got to the point where like I couldn't drive from home to work without like having to like stop somewhere in between. It was just like constantly coming out of me. It was really awful. Um, so yeah, so then at some point you just gotta go to the emergency room. Like there's nothing else we can do for you.
Yeah. And was it, like, a long stay in the emergency room, or they immediately were like, "We're just gonna give you this ostomy, like, this seems like the right path?"
Uh, kind. So the entire that entire hospital stay was I think it was either a month or 2 months. I
Wow.
forget. I'm not good with that. But there was like a couple days where they let me go home, and then I got really sick again. I had to go back. But I didn't want the ostomy, so they kind of like I was there for like a couple days. They did a bunch of tests, and the surgeon comes in. She's like, "Oh, I'm from the from the surgery time, and I'm like, I freak out. I'm like, oh my god, no! Like like my whole life, I've been like lying to doctors and saying like, I feel fine, I'm good enough, I'm good enough. When I was, not really that good at all, because I didn't want to have any surgery. I was just like terrified of it. I did not want to live my life with a bag,
Hmm.
and I was just scared of it. And so they came in and they said, look, we think the best thing for you to do now is have this surgery. And I freaked out. I'm like, no, I don't want to do that. That's not what I was like. Let's try something else. There's got to be something else. And I don't know. It was actually like this point where like when I was in the hospital, like all these doctors just so happened to like come to check on me at the same time. There's like 6 different doctors from all these different departments, and then they're under what are they, the fellows and residents and stuff all there. And
Yeah.
I'm sitting there, I'm arguing with them that we got to try something else. And what we decided on was they said that we could try. They put me on TPN, so I was just getting all my nutrition through an IV, and then I was on like this full liquid diet. So all I was drinking was water and this clear and sure. And they said we could try that for a week and see if that rested my bowels enough to like improve any of the inflammation. So I sat in the hospital, just like I just hung out in the hospital basically for a week. And then that Friday came and I was like, no, I still feel like shit. Let's do this, I guess.
Damn. Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely something you don't want to opt in for originally, but I'm glad that you were like, all right, I see that my body needs this. We kind of ran through all these options. Got this.
Yeah, and honestly, I had an appointment yesterday with a surgeon about another issue, and we talked about it, and it's actually pretty amazing how many people don't want this surgery, and once they have it, once they recover and they start living life again, it's like why didn't I do this sooner?
Yeah, exactly. And I think that you just like posting about your ostomy and confidence within it, that is really important for people to see. It's like have this ostomy because it's saving me. And I think that that's really important to show.
Yeah, yeah, me too. And like for me, like when I was diagnosed at 14, I'm not sure what we had in terms of internet, maybe MySpace at that point, but I was alone, man. I was totally freaking alone. I didn't know anybody else. I had at the lunchroom. I was taking like 16 pills a day or something. I had like this little pill. Oh man, it was so. And everybody was making fun of me, and I was totally alone. And I guess like now people aren't as alone, and like my contribution on the internet isn't quite as important as I initially thought
No,
it might
it
be.
still
But,
is.
yeah, I mean, like it's so tough when you're sick and you're young. You feel so alone, and it's really great that the internet allows us to like see other people that are also going through the same crap.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And too, like you said, like going through at such a young age, is it more common in older people? I thought like people past 30.
No, no, man, Crohn's disease it usually gets these teenagers.
Really?
People get yeah from like 10. I mean, don't quote me on like the medical studies and stuff, but I'm pretty sure that like 10 to 30 is when you're most likely to get it.
Wow. Interesting.
Yeah.
Huh. And is it it's genetic or it's like symptom based, if something, I don't
They
know.
have no idea.
Mm,
Nobody
yeah.
knows. Like, and that's the other like messed up thing. Nobody knows. Like some doctors will act like they know everything, and like you rarely get one that's just like, dude, we don't know. Like we're doing our best, but we don't know.
Yeah, totally. I know a lot of people ask me where the cancer came from because it's not in my family. And I asked the doctors once, they go, it's just here now. So we're going to focus on this. And I was like, okay.
Right on, dude. Like, yeah, that's awesome.
But no, I think that, like I said, like showing your stuff is really important because I saw in one of your YouTube videos, you were saying that um, this is like one of the least represented spaces for males in chronically ill community, which is I don't know if they're just like there and not showing that they're there, if that's more so what you think is going on, or because a lot of men have like IBS and stuff like that, right?
Yeah, totally. A whole bunch of dudes have it. I just think that it's not like a very masculine like thing to do to like sit there and like
Talk about
flaunt
poop? Yeah,
illness.
totally.
Yeah,
It's like
like
that's like guys' things.
yeah, I just think that dudes just like don't want to do that. But I don't know. I work with Galley Health sometimes, and yeah, they struggle to find dudes that want to like be an ambassador and help them with stuff. So
Yeah.
they are there. There's people like there's men googling stuff on the internet, in their room by themselves. Just
Yeah.
not a lot, like, I don't know, talking about it. And I also have to say, like, it's really interesting. It feels like in Canada, the UK, like they do talk about like you can find dude, but like it's like American. Are you? I'm not sure where you are. I should have done my research.
I'm in New York.
You're in New York. Okay, awesome. Yeah. So like, I don't think that there's like I specifically do not believe that there are American men, very many that are discussing that. So that's why I kind of thought that Tim, you got to do this. Is your job. You got to do this.
Bring it to the States.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally. I feel like in London too, I see a lot more support. And even in the UK, there are so many organizations that have like chronic illness support. And over here, I'm like, where are we here? Like, are we talking about this at all? Like, I can't find it. I totally agree.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know why. I really don't know what the root cause of that or why it is. But yeah, I mean, like in general, like our healthcare system, all of the medical, everything here is so wacky and like
Yeah.
I don't. So I don't know why it is, but it definitely seems like we have less support in the United States.
Yeah. Or just like openness about it. And I wonder if it's because of working and healthcare stuff. I think that a lot of people don't want to talk about their chronic illness. I feel like because at work, they're going to feel like a lot of people are judging them or not going to give them the same amount of respect that they usually get because they're working. And then like losing your job too. Like, I think that once it gets to a point where like you feel like you might lose your job because of your chronic illness and then you're going to be out of the healthcare, like maybe that's why people feel like they can't be more open about their symptoms and stuff like that. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean that definitely could be it. I know that having to being sick and like I mean like I always have to work. Like I don't have any sort of safety net. Like I am my own safety net. So if I don't work, I don't get care. I don't get anything. So yeah, like, that could definitely be it. And like maybe also like people just simply don't have the energy to after work, because I know that like for me like after a long day staring at my computer for work things that I definitely don't want to be doing, it's really hard to like work on your passion project after
Yeah.
work.
Yeah. And how has it been like, because you said that you've been working this whole time. So how's that been with your chronic illness? Like, are they open and like okay with you like taking off when you need to?
I mean, I have PTO, so I never. They know they had to know because of the long hospital stay. I had to use like FMLA or something like that. And I took like a leave of absence, so they had to know some stuff. But I usually don't tell. I don't tell the employers too much.
Mm.
I originally so I had this guy I worked with, and he had MS, and we were working at this small place, and I kind of at first I was like, I'll talk about it, whatever. Yeah, I got Crohn's disease. I gotta go do this. I gotta go to these appointments or whatever. And he was like, he took me aside one time, and he was like, listen, you don't want to be telling everybody about that, because after you get employed and the health insurance for everybody goes up, you don't want to be the one to be blamed. And like you want to think they aren't looking at this, and I'm sure there's laws saying that they can't fire
Right.
you for that. But let's be real, like there's nothing
Right.
really stopping them from like going through the data and being like, all right, well this guy's like eating up all the health insurance, so he's got to go.
Yeah.
So after that, I don't know. If it comes up organically, if you built some trust with your coworkers or your boss or something, I'll talk about it. But I'm not super open about it. I'm not telling everybody with like intimate details. As far as bad gut Tim goes, anytime that like I get like a suggestion that like, or I see one of them or something, I always block them. I make sure I don't want them in my business.
We're not that close.
No, we're absolutely not. Like, we're not hanging out after work or anything, dude.
Yeah, that's all right. Do you like what you do?
No, I hate it. I
Really?
absolutely hate it. Yeah, I hate my job.
Damn.
Yeah.
Mm. Yeah, and
But,
that's
but the thing is, like, I had no idea what I wanted to do. I followed this girl to college, and I don't know if you really want to hear about this, but I'll tell you now. But
yeah.
so I went to St. Louis University, which is, it's this way too expensive private Catholic school that I had no business going to. and all they really offer are, like the classic, like the classic college, like accounting, finance, stuff like that, or engineering. That's not really who I am, or what, like I like art. I really like to film myself, or do the photography stuff, and there's just you didn't have any options. So basically what I did was I was like, well, I need to make some money. I started to figure out how much all this school cost. I was like $120,000 in debt, and I was like, well, I got to figure something out. So I just like went through all the majors and found the one that paid the most, and that was IT management in the business school. And that's what I did. And now I work with computers, and I have no patience for computers. I hate them.
Yeah, they're not great.
No, they're not. I hate dealing with computers.
That's
And
so
I do it
funny.
all day long. I do it all day long, and I have no aptitude, like no natural aptitude for it. So anything, so I mean, like I progressed in my career, but it's like this painstaking process. Constantly, I'm constantly stressed out. Like there's just like I said, there's just like no natural aptitude for figuring this stuff out. I'm constantly struggling.
That is the worst. I just got into software engineering and I feel you like when the computer when it's doing something that you don't want it to do and it won't listen to you, I'm like, this could be where I just throw my computer against the wall.
Yes.
It's so frustrating.
So what do you do?
I started just practicing software engineering. So I did like a full stack application like boot camp. And then from there, I just started building like databases and building out the front end and started working in there. But it's been really fun. I like it when it works, but it's pretty rare when that happens. But everyone says the same thing. They're like, it'll be so frustrating and you'll feel like you're never going to understand anything about it. And then you get one thing to work and you're like, I can do this. I got
Yeah, kind of. So
it.
do you work for like a company now?
No, no, I'm applying a bunch of places. It is a challenge for everyone right now to get a job, and then never mind like someone who's just like, "Hey, I just started doing this. Hire me onto your team." Like,
Totally, totally.
so
But yeah, like for me, like when I was like learning it, I'm like, yeah, like this is fun. I'm making these little apps, these little games and stuff. But then like when I got the job, it's never what you're almost always just trying to figure out what someone
yeah,
else on the road screwed up on for you to fix. This is that's all I'm doing ever. I'm just constantly fixing other people's screw ups.
yeah,
All it is. That's all the job is.
right, yeah. So just constantly searching error messages, which is
Totally, it
yeah,
is. This is what I'm like. Well, this like that's sort of like, oh, we're getting errors. And like, how do you fix? I don't know. I'm gonna have to sit down and figure it out. I have no idea.
yeah. Just Google it. That's exactly what I'm gonna do.
That's what
Like,
I'm going to do. I'm going to Google this.
that's it. Just do it yourself. No, just kidding. But yeah. Yeah, it's I wanted to get into it though because I can sit, I can be on the computer, I can hopefully be at home, and then like that is my goal right now because yeah, I have this up and down. So like sometimes I feel great, sometimes I don't. But I can always sit at a desk and I majority of the time can use my brain. So like
Yes. Right, and that's where I was too. I always thought like working on cars would be a good thing for me, or just like something like that. But I can't. Like for me, I couldn't. You can't just run to the when you're an auto mechanic. Like you're dealing with a different type of person as a coworker, and you can't just always run to the bathroom like whenever that needs to happen. So
right.
I had to come up with something that, like this, where I could sit and you can kind of hide. And
Mhm.
I worked for a while. I worked doing help desk stuff, so you were on the phone, and I got fired for that because I would like I would just get up and go to because like I'm not going to shit my pants in my cubicle, dude. So I got to get up, and they're like, "No, you can't get off the phone." So I'm like, "Well, I'm going to." So they fired me.
Damn. Oh man, that's the worst. Well, better because now you can actually be comfortable when you are in
Yeah,
your job space.
totally.
Um, Well, I really like your videos though, and I'm glad that you're able to do them when you get out of work because they're really fun, and I think that your video editing is really cool.
Yeah, everybody's telling me I'm really good at that, but I'm like constantly like I'm very like conscious. I see like all these other people that are like really good at it, and I'm like, I'm not that good at it, but I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah, and I think that while a lot of people are obviously professionals in this sort of field, I think that just having an eye and an ear for where to cut and when to cut and how much to cut, that you can tell that you have that. So,
I appreciate that.
totally. And when did you decide that you wanted to do that?
The YouTube stuff, I'll take so I initially so right when I graduated from college, like I said, I hated my job and I was sitting there like I wanted to figure out how to not do that anymore. So I created a website called Crohn's on Campus, and I wanted to like I just wanted to like help kids in college with Crohn's disease. That was like the niche. I really niched down. I did that for a while, and like I just couldn't keep up with it. So I gave that up, and then the summer I was getting really sick. I just like decided. I think I saw someone else's like Instagram account where they were talking about that, and I was like, I can do that. I can definitely do that. So I just kind of started it, and then I started with just an Instagram account. I would like write little captions, and then I was like, why can't I build another website? And then, like Bad Gut Tim, like that, it's like I can move it, I can do all sorts of stuff. I am Bad Gut Tim. I can do whatever with it. And so then I built the website, and then I was blogging. I thought I was such a good little writer, and that got a little bit tough too. And I had to do these sitz baths. I have this fistulist who basically like put this bucket into the toilet, and then you sit in there for 20 minutes every night. So while I was doing that, I'd watch these YouTube videos, and I kind of got sucked into. I don't know if you watch how much YouTube you watch, but I got sucked into this guy named Peter McKinnon, and he's just this charismatic, awesome guy. And I was like, I kind of felt I connected with him, and I was like, I kind of am like him. And I was like, I can do this. So I bought these cameras, I bought all this stuff, and I started practicing before I like really like put it on the internet. And yeah, I kind of like I said, like I kind of found that I have a bit of a natural aptitude for it, and away we go. Let's try
Nice.
it. Why not?
Nice. That's awesome. Yeah, everyone loves a good YouTube video, and I think that too, having things that are like, helpful and something that is a niche in a way that people are definitely looking for someone else's perspective on their illnesses. Once I first got diagnosed, I was like, "Who has this? How can I?" Because they always say like, "Don't Google your disease," or it's then how am I going to understand what the hell's going on? Because I didn't want to Google my disease. Because the first thing I did was do a quick, "What is this?" And then I was like, "Ooh, I'm not going to dive deeper into this." So I just wanted to find people, so I went online, and at that time there was not that many people that were super open about it, but that's the first place you go, and like especially now, so that's great.
Thank you.
Yeah, totally. I saw one of your posts that said that doctors are smart, but you not know your body best.
Sure.
And I definitely relate to that. Was there an experience that you had that made you want to post something like that?
All sorts of experience. I've dealt with like 8 GI doctors, and that's just the GI doctors. And you can talk. My problem with doctors is that you can talk to 5 doctors and you get 5 different answers because they don't. Like I said, like they don't know, and they can guide you, and stuff. But I just think that all too often the doctor patient relationship is very one sided, where the doctor tells you what to do and you do it. And I have had doctors where it's more of a collaboration, and I appreciate them. And I think I must have just like dealt with a doctor where it was like this is what's going to happen to you, and this is how it's going to go. And they're very authoritative, and they're right, you're wrong, and whatever they say goes. And I think that's part of like the American healthcare culture and system, and I think it needs to change. So I just wrote that.
Yeah, because like you said, so many people and they're in such a everyone's in such a vulnerable spot when they go to the doctor. Obviously something's wrong, like obviously you feel vulnerable. And then you're being told like this is your only option, which is not always the case. Like there's always, I feel like another option, whether it's just like don't do anything at all. Like that's even an option. They're not gonna tell you that.
Always.
But
They never tell you that. They never ever tell you that. But that is always an option. Just like go on about your life and existence. Like you are allowed to do that, and nobody says that.
right, right. Yeah, exactly. Because like I said, you're vulnerable. You want something to change, but at the same time, there are so many doctors out there. And while it's work to find another doctor and work to find someone that you actually like and respect, you have to accept like it's going to be a minute until I get to another diagnosis, but also, hey, it might be way better and it could like shave off X amount of medications I have to take.
it's pros and cons that you gotta weigh, but first jumping into it, you don't always feel that way.
Yeah, yeah, especially like brand new people to this. Yeah, it's you're right. It's kind of predatory. It's not great. Something needs to change.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that just being more open about it and just like I'm always saying, because people will come up to me with like new diagnosis, I'm like, make sure that you are fully aware that like you can go to another place and whatever. And just like being more open about doctors aren't gods and like they are people and humans and can make mistakes and just be, more aware of that because it feels like that's the only option you have a lot of times.
Totally, absolutely.
Yeah. So, when you're going through your Crohn's and or flare-ups or something, do you have like a good support system or friends that or you feel open with, or is it sort of just like you and you? Like, how do you go about it?
Admittedly, like adult Tim doesn't have so many friends,
Same.
but I've got a very supportive girlfriend, and I've got a really supportive mom, and that's I think that's about all I really need. When I was in college, though, I had like roommates and people that I was pretty close with, and it helped to have someone that like at least like they at least like knew that I was going through something. I don't know. They always seemed kind of weird about it, so they came up with in college. My friends came up with they would like whenever I wasn't feeling good, they'd always say the bugs have got Tim today, and it just so it was very endearing. It was just made me feel like you get it. I'm sick today. I appreciate you just like getting it.
Yeah. And I think that it's hard for a lot of people to sort of understand what it is that you're going through for them to just even be accepting of the fact that like, hey, he's not gonna be 100% today. I think that's
Yeah, and I think it's kind of on the people that are sick to kind of like like people do, other your the people around you need to like try, but also you kind of have to understand that no matter how hard they're trying, like they're just not gonna get it. It's not like they've not felt it. They just don't get it, and that's why like being around people who do get it is so important.
Yeah, absolutely. And a lot of people just feel like they're stepping on eggshells, like they're bothering you or something if they're coming to you, if they're like not someone that understands what you may be going through. I feel like a lot of my friends are like, I don't want to bother you. And I'm like, you're not bothering me. I'm laying on the couch. This is it. So if you want to come over, like come on over. But yeah, totally. It's hard, especially growing up and, in your later years, you end up just losing friends anyway. So we get that.
It's hard. It is. It's part of growing up, definitely. But it's also hard to like maintain these relationships when they do like I would imagine like for someone who isn't sick, they feel one sided where it's like you only hang out when you feel good naturally. Like that is how it is. But sometimes like in relationships, relationships are all about give and take, and sometimes you simply need to be there for someone even though you don't feel good, and that's really hard for someone who's genuinely sick. You know what I
Sick.
mean?
Yeah, that I totally feel you on that. Like, I can't show up sometimes. Like, I can't show up
Right.
for you when you need me, and like that's hard. It's hard just in general not being able to do something because of your chronic illness. Like, it sucks every time, and especially when it's something that you really look forward to doing with your friends or something like that. So, I feel you.
Yeah, it's hard to grow up it's hard to grow up as a sick person. It's hard to like not for that not to be your identity. Like you're a sick person, and you're going through the same shit everybody else is going through, but you're also sick while you're going through it constantly.
Yeah. So, do you ever get to these sort of like why me moments that you sort of sit in for a minute? Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Everyone
Oh
does,
yeah.
right?
I mean, like I'm very chipper on my account because I choose to show you only chipper things, but I have all sorts of like I get sad, I get angry. I mean like I'm jaded. You know what I mean? Like I always look at people and I'm like, oh fuck this guy. It's so easy for him. Yeah. I mean, it's really hard. It's really hard.
Yeah. Do you do anything to sort of like get yourself out of those modes, or do you have any like things you tell yourself or something?
I really wish that I had something to give people. Like, this is how I pull myself out of those moments. But it kind of just ebbs and flows. I'd say, honestly, I'd say the thing that pulls me out of those moments is something good happening. Like just like getting lucky and like I don't know, like something as little as like the Milwaukee Bucks winning a big game, or just like an event that like I'm really looking forward to and it going well. And it's just like I think you kind of just have to let those shitty moments come and go, and go through them and live through them and experience them, and try to move on. But I really I wish I had like some sort of like step, like 5-step plan to like get you out of it, but I don't.
Yeah, that's fine. Sometimes sitting in it is maybe the most important thing sometimes, to really like process and analyze. Hey, I feel like shit. Like, why do I feel like shit? So like sometimes I like ask myself, like, why do I feel this way? But I sometimes sit in it for maybe too long, and then I'll be like, all right, this is not really serving me. Like, I'm not really like doing anything with this right now. I'm just sort of wallowing, which is fine. But I can only do it for like a day. And then I'm like, Dana, it's time. Let's get out of this. Maybe it comes to me blocking someone because I don't want to see something so happy. I'm like, get out of my face.
Dude, blocking people on social media is such an underrated form of like self-care. Like it's like, dude, there's so many shitty people on the internet like throwing their great lives in your life while you're struggling. I don't need that. Goodbye, mute, block, whatever.
Yeah. Honestly, it was so nice when I started learning that you could do that. I was like, okay, good. Yeah, I need that for sure. But I feel like you still have so much energy. Like on your videos, especially, I'm like, yeah, this guy has so much energy. Like he seems so, I don't know, ready to go. Do you have anything that you do? Like, what do you do to keep your energy up?
Like I said, like I have found in my life that I guess like for me, like I got sick, right? And I don't want to disparage or like diminish anybody else's issues, because this is just how I feel. But I got sick and it sucks, and I shit my pants all the time. But I mean, like, what am I gonna do? Like, not do anything? If I don't ever leave the house and don't ever try things and don't ever like have those shitty experiences, then I'm not gonna live a life. I'm going to literally just be in bed all the time, and I don't want to be. I have all these dreams and aspirations, and I want to live my life. So I have to make a conscious effort constantly to continue living life. And I'm not, and when I say that, I'm always like afraid to say this on my account, because maybe I just don't have it that bad. Maybe I'm just lucky enough to only have this, and I've got this bag now, and like, I don't know. I just, you gotta keep going. If you don't like, I'm not, and it's so easy for me to say you gotta keep going, because I know there's people that actually can't get up and keep going, but you gotta try something. You have to keep trying, otherwise you're not gonna have a life, and that's all you get in this world. You know what I mean? Like, it's all you get. And if you don't try, then you will have nothing. It'll be, and when you're having those why me moments, then you're not only are you like, oh, this sucks, I'm sick all the time, but it sucks. I'm in bed all the time. I'm not doing it. I haven't experienced everything. And at least even if I experience things like half, if I like half experience of it, I get to see the Grand Canyon or whatever, but I also shit my pants while I saw it, but I still got to see the sunset over the Grand Canyon with shit in my pants. I still got to see it.
Yeah, totally. And that's so important too, that you're pushing yourself to and knowing your limits. Like, I'm gonna go and do this, but if it's too much for me, I'm out. Like, that's really cool that you're able to do those things. And I think that too, being aware, I don't think that you should feel guilty about, doing those things, or like under no circumstance could account for everyone that's going through this. And not everyone's going to be in your situation because you're your own person. But seeing you being able to do those things is definitely inspiring to someone. And I think that that's why I wanted to have you on. And I think that that's why you should keep doing what you're doing. I think it's so cool.
I appreciate that.
Yeah. Well, thanks so much for jumping on. I really appreciate you coming on.
Yeah, thank you for having me. This was fun.
Do you have anything else that you want to like promote or talk about or anything like that?
I mean, Bad Gut Tim. You Google Bad Gut Tim. I've got Instagram. I've got Twitter. I've got the YouTube videos. Go check them out. Subscribe. I'm not giving up. I might not post for a couple weeks, but I will be back. I'll keep throwing content out there.
Nice. Awesome. I really appreciate it.
yes to that. I totally agree. And I'm so happy that Tim was able to share his ability to push through when he's feeling great and be able to live those experiences that, you know, when you're sitting in bed or in the hospital for weeks on end, those are the things that you're dreaming about. And so being able to get out and do those things is really cool. And if you're not in a situation where you can go out and do those things, it's just not your time yet. You'll be able to get to that point, or you'll be able to do an element of that. And, you know, it may not be exactly what you've planned, but what really is? What goes exactly to plan, honestly? I don't really know one thing that's gone exactly to plan. But that's what you look forward to. That's what you aim for. And then you fall somewhere in the stars, right? But thanks so much to Tim again for jumping on the show. I'm so happy that you're able to explain to us what you go through on the day-to-day with your IBD and Crohn's disease. Make sure to follow Bad Gut Tim. All the links will be below. And check out his YouTube channel. It's really, really cool. I'm so happy that there are people out there that are like him, sharing their experiences in a fun and interesting way, especially for men that are going through similar symptoms that can talk to someone that is open and honest about their experience. So thanks again, and make sure to check in next week for a new episode of Still Positive. Stay sick.